Beethoven. These are all black people, North American Indians. The Hebrews were also black people as well. And this is the education that they're not going to teach you, okay, in your schools. In my books, I cover a span from our ancient history all the way up into American history, which they're not going to teach you in the education systems of America. These are not your teacher's history books.
Author and historian Frank Zaaqan Jordan book collection is now available on Amazon.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining the Mike Lee Show. Today, I have Frank Jordan in. He is an author, one of our great writers in the house. Finally, we get to talk to Frank. Frank, man, how are you doing, brother?
Hey, Brother Mike, I'm fine, man. And hey, listen, it's a pleasure, and thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. All praise to the Most High.
Thank you so much. We don't get a chance to talk to a lot of authors. We've talked to a lot of script writers and people in the movies, but it's really great to talk to an artist like you. And you're a specific type of artist because you write about Black history. Is that correct?
That is correct. Unmentioned Black history, those topics in school that they don't want to mention or teach about.
So that's very important, unmentioned Black history. So you dig a little bit deeper than what's on the surface of things that they want to tell us about this and that, but then there's some other things that we don't know about that you get to tell us about, and that's great.
Absolutely, Brother Mike. It's more that they don't tell us than they do tell us.
Gotcha. I like it. So tell me, why did you go into this type of writing? What was it about this that fascinated you so much about Black history?
Yeah, growing up in the 70s in Brooklyn, I lived there all my life until, I became an adult. It's just that our history is so marginalized, in schools. It's almost like it's pushed in a corner. And what they do, they pick and choose certain topics that they want to teach us about, and certain Black leaders, so to say, that they want to teach us about, just to keep us in a certain mindset, whereas that we won't really, push back too much if we found out. Because I'm gonna tell you like this, one of the greatest reasons why I do and why I research and why I'm into this so much is that our history goes far beyond, Martin Luther King and marching. Everything that America has said that they were, they actually aren't. In history.
So when did you realize you wanted to write?
Oh my goodness. Oh man. I would probably say maybe back in 1989, maybe about 33 years ago, when I came across, the magnificent, Hebrew brothers, and, they showed me just a different trajectory as far as, our history is concerned. Pretty much everything, that you can imagine that we've been taught in school. Because look, Brother Mike, when I went to school, I'm probably a little bit older than you, but when I went to school, the only thing that
we'll keep it at that. We'll keep it at
that. Right. The only thing that we pretty much learned in school was, you read Judy Blume books, see Spot Run, see, Jane, right. And everything was really predicated, everything is really predicated towards, white supremacy. You open up a book, you see white children, you close a book, you see a white teacher, you go home, you see white. So, the things that are taught to us, great writers like Shakespeare, his writings like Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth, King Lear, guys like that, the knights, King Arthur. When you really go back and when you really dig into history, you'll find out that all those people were Black. Shakespeare, one of the best writers on this planet. And I always make mention of this. He was a Black man. He was a Black man. And when you read his dialogue, when you read his plays, he make mention in all his plays about the characters as being people of color, even Romeo and Juliet. When you go to scene 2, I think it's Act 6, he mentions Juliet's skin as being dark, just like the night. And also Romeo, actually, during the whole play, mentions Juliet's skin as being dark.
Wow. How many books have you published total?
I have published actually 4 myself. 3 were actually, published by a publishing company.
But they've all been written by you, all and
yes,
only.
Sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No co-publishing, all by me. Research, all by me.
How has writing and researching about our culture helped you learn more about yourself?
Oh my goodness. You said it. The answer was in what you just said, brother Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it gives you self-identification. It gives you self-identification. If you ask 6 Black people their nationality, they're gonna give you over 100 different answers. I'm a Black man, I'm African American.
Mm-hmm.
Africa was named after Leo Scipio's Africanus. America was named after America Vespucci, which are two Europeans. So we
Mm-hmm.
couldn't have came out of those people family lines. You ask another Black person, I'm a color. You ask another Black person, I'm Negro. You ask another Black person, I'm a Brooklynite. I'm a Detroitite. I come from Atlanta, Georgia. But what this does, it gives us self-identity. It kind of traces us back, to the background of our origins of where we came from and the greatness of our people as well, too, that are over here in America. Because I'm gonna tell you like this, they weren't just selling just a bunch of people during the time of the transatlantic slave trade because they didn't know anything, brother Mike. It was a goldsmith, doctor, herbologist, astronomist. It was a supermarket for people, smart, intelligent Blacks, to build up America. I always make this point too, brother Mike. When we was actually bought over here during the time of the King Dahomean Empire from the late 1500s up to the 1800s, I don't remember us stopping at any schools, any institutions along the way to learn anything. When we got auctioned off in Virginia, Richmond, Virginia, the border and the shorter lines of New York, that's where the stock market came from, because they were selling livestock on Wall Street. That's where the stock market originally came from, because they were selling livestock, which was slaves. I don't remember or any history book that I've ever read, and I've read over 5,000, maybe 6,000 history books. I've never read where when we was dropped off, we was in a learning institution first, and then we went to the slave plantation. That didn't happen. We went straight, sold, auction blocks, and we went straight to work. So they knew exactly what they were getting when they were selling us, brother Mike. We weren't, they didn't teach us how to read. People that don't know how to read don't plant for you. They don't build for you. Benjamin Banneker, one of the great Black men that engineered the White House, he didn't have time. White America didn't have time to teach us these things. So we had to be a advanced special people during this time to build America up. So that brings about a great self-esteem about yourself, other than, you was just slaves and you was just listening, to a massive whipping the hell out of you and instructing you and telling you to do. These were our forefathers. They were geniuses, brother Mike.
Geniuses. Wow. The myth is that Black people don't read. Do you feel that to date? Is that true or false?
That's actually true, and it wasn't. It wasn't the fact that it wasn't the fact that they didn't want us. It wasn't the fact that we couldn't read. It's the fact of the documents and the items that belong to our forefathers, of which they didn't want us reading, because they know that would bring us back, to who we are and our strength. How can we not read? When we came over to America, we were speaking over 15 different languages. You had some people speaking Arabic. You had Blacks speaking Arabic. You had them speaking Hebrew. You had us speaking English as well too. So you have these people that came over here, and somebody had to do some kind of reading, to build this great country up. So it wasn't the fact that they didn't. It wasn't the fact that we couldn't read. They just didn't want us reading what was prevalent and important to us at that time. Do Black people read? That's almost like a prerequisite from slavery. Massive. Put that book down. Stop reading that book. Don't read that book. Don't read the Bible. You can't read the Bible. You can't read this history book right here. So it's not the fact that we couldn't read. It's the fact of the details that was in the articles that we were reading that would have brought us back to our strength.
Let's talk about your first book. What's the title of that first book, and tell us about it?
My first book actually is called Not Just a Coincidence, What Politics, Leaders, and Pastors Fail to Tell You.
Whoa. Tell us a little bit about what's in that, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, look, it depends.
And that was your first book?
That was my very first book.
What year did you write your first book?
In 2010.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Okay. So we're coming up on 22 years. Is it 12 years? 12 years since your first book.
Yes, that's correct.
Wow, wow. Tell us a little bit about, just a little bit about that book.
Because hey, listen, Mr. Lee, they don't tell us everything. That goes for the politicians. It's always like, let's just say, for instance, let me give you an example.
Mhm.
White America has always had this injustice about themselves, where they reward they reward their leaders for brutalizing us. Like they give
Mhm.
them they give them their own street names. Like I'm
Mhm.
me personally, I'm I'm insulted that they actually still teach about George Washington, guys like Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson to your kids in school. When everybody knows that Thomas Jefferson had over 600 slaves, George Washington had over 600 slaves. So what people fail to realize, when you go to school and when you read about these people, you're actually learning about the people who was actually brutalizing our forefathers. And
Mhm.
they was the one who paved this country, and they was the ones who set the standard, the Congress laws, the amendments, the
Mhm.
constitutions. These are the same people who signed off on the constitutions that we
They're called
supposed
the forefathers, right? Hmm.
there you
Yeah.
go.
Mhm.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go. And if you're in school, listen, brother Mike, and if you're in school, that's the reason why so many black kids and so many black, youths and even adults, that's the reason why history is boring to us, Mike, is because why? Because we're not shown the greatness of our history. If you go to class and you know that you're going to learn about some old lying politician, by the name of Nixon and Jimmy Carter, of course you're not going to be interested, because that's their history. That's good for them. But what about us? Every time we go to class, the only thing we learn about is either Shirley Chisholm, we learn about Martin Luther King, we learn about Rosa Parks. These are all great people, but they show them in a submissive mindset, marching, going around, we shall singing, we shall overcome,
Marching
you know,
and yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
And when you read about these people and the way that they handle certain things and certain events, there was no pushback. It's almost like we were begging, and we're still begging our enemies, to be part of a society that
Mhm.
don't even care about us. We're the only people who do that, brother Mike. We're
Only.
always the ones who always try to infiltrate with a society, or try to communicate and try to infiltrate with a society, but a society don't even care about, or they don't even they don't care. They give less about what we do, how we feel, and how we produce and act.
Why do you feel that that is? Is it because of what we've been through slavery, what we've been taught?
Right. It's not only the way, it's not only what we've been taught, it's just white supremacy, to actually to be superior, or to
Mhm.
make yourself look superior. You have to really just dumb a certain people down.
Yeah.
You have to dumb
Yeah.
certain people down. You have to hide their history. You have to always indoctrinate inside their head, you're nothing, you're be nothing, we're the superior ones. We did everything. We're the geniuses. Albert Einstein, Benjamin Franklin discovered electricity,
Hmm.
the theory of evolution. And this is what they push on our people. And this is what they push on our students. You were nothing. You contributed to nothing. But when you go back in history, even till today, a black woman by the name of Gladys Mae West, and I always make this point, Gladys Mae West, she's still living. She actually invented the GPS system. The woman lives down in Florida and gets no credit
No credit
whatsoever.
whatsoever.
Gets no credit whatsoever. But still they'll say, okay, well, Thomas Edison, he invented the light bulb, when the brother Louis Latimer was the engineer who
Mhm.
made the filament, engineered the filament, okay, so the bulb can light up. The only thing that he did, Thomas Edison did, he engineered the glass, okay, into the shape form that it was. But it's nothing if you don't have that
You
filament
don't
to
have
light
to. Yeah, absolutely.
the bulb up. How
Yeah.
can Ben Franklin? How did our people? This is funny. How did our people let
Mm.
Benjamin Franklin get away with that one? How do you discover a natural force that was already here, that the Heavenly Father put here, called neurons and electrons, and it causes heat, and it's called electricity? That's another one. Benjamin Franklin discovered electricity. Oh, come on. Come
Wow.
on.
That out of the 7 books that you have, do you target Black History Month, or have you been able to just spread them out and put them out whenever you want to?
Right. My books are actually my books are actually, the last time I actually was notified, my books are actually in more than 40 different universities, bookstores,
Congratulations, man.
elementary schools. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. That means a lot to me. And during Black History Month, people call me 2 years in advance, for Black History Month. Like right now, my calendar is filled. But it's not just targeted to Black history. It's just Black History Month, February. No, our history spans throughout the year.
Every day.
Every day, brother Mike. Every day. Let me give you an example on something. How America makes fun of our people and how they really don't care. Let me give an example like Peter Stuyvesant. Peter Stuyvesant was one of the biggest slave holders. Was one of the biggest slave holders in New York City, in the area of Brooklyn. Peter Stuyvesant. And that's who Bedford Stuyvesant, William Bedford. And they put the two names together, and named it Bedford Stuyvesant. Peter Stuyvesant had slaves. And a lot of people don't know that to today. Bedford Stuyvesant was actually named after slave masters. Peter Stuyvesant, you can look him up. A lot of people don't understand and they don't know that. A lot of streets in New York City was named after slave owners. And a lot of people don't even know that.
Wow. Let's talk about your very second book. What was the name of that book? Can you tell us what year you wrote that book and what was that book about?
Right. The second book was called 500 Years of American Deception. And that book pretty much curtailed us back to how did Black images all of a sudden become white? So when you go back, the answer to this is
such as the Shakespeare's and all of these other ones that you mentioned earlier. Go ahead, brother.
Bingo.
I'm following you.
Right, absolutely. If the Bible describes Christ as being Black, how come all of a sudden how can he be Caucasian?
Absolutely.
Moses, dark-skinned man, passed for an Egyptian. How did this happen? 1400s, during the Renaissance period, you had three main culprits behind that. You had the popes of Rome, you had Michelangelo, you had Leonardo da Vinci, and you had artist by the name of Rembrandt. And today, they make mockery by selling toothpaste in the stores called Rembrandt toothpaste. You can go to Walmart right now, you can look at it. And Rembrandt toothpaste is known for whitening. I can't make this up. You can go to the store right now and say, "Hey, listen, where's your Rembrandt toothpaste?"
No, Frank, the crazy thing is I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen it, and I have to say it, I think I might have even purchased it a couple of times. We talked about how well it whitens the teeth. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
wow, man,
this is a conversation that a lot of our people don't want to have, but we have to have it because it was done for white supremacy. Again, to dumb people down, to take away their self-esteem, to lower their self-morals, their identity, their integrity. You have to set yourself up as a subservient person, as a superior person. So what better way to do that, Brother Mike, is to take away all of the people that we look up to, okay, guys like Christ, guys like in the past, like King Arthur, and paint these guys in an image, in a form, okay, to their liking. So that's what they did in the 1400s. And when you look back in history, during the time of the Renaissance period, the word Renaissance just means to renew or to redo. And the popes of Rome paid these guys a commission to redo all the dark art, okay, that was before them. Because before that, Brother Mike, you couldn't find no Caucasian art before the 1400s, to be honest with you. You couldn't find really no Caucasian art. But this is what happened during the 1400s for white supremacy. But the person that posed, for the image, okay, of Christ is a real man. His name is Caesar Borgia. That's his name. He posed and modeled for the picture of Christ. His name is Caesar Borgia. Because anytime before that, you can still go over to Jerusalem. You can go over to Rome, and they still have in the temples, even as far as Russia and Moscow, in the temples over there, they still have pictures of the disciples, Moses, Christ, Ezekiel, Elijah. And all of these pictures are in my books, where these pictures are still over there, these paintings that are still over there in the catacombs, down in the churches, where they still have those paintings, okay, of of dark images. And if you notice this, Brother Mike, all of the dark images, okay, you notice that everything is just chipped off and the color, and you can't really see them that good. And but you notice that every Roman statue, every Roman painting, it's like it's brand new.
Brand new. Yeah.
It's like it's brand new. But when it comes to our art, why is the nose is chipped off and you see half of it is bleached, it looks a certain color, it's deformed, and the Sphinx nose over in Egypt, the nose is blocked off. And
why was that, Frank? Why?
Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon Bonaparte. Two names, Napoleon and Bonaparte. Same thing, white supremacy. Listen, let me tell you something. If we look back in our history, guys like King Arthur, Robin Hood, these guys were all black men. A lot of people, and I've taught before professors, in colleges, and a lot of people say this guy's just on a black trip. No, not really. It's just that everyone that they deemed, to be someone in history, they've taken the credit for it. But when you go back, and I have thousands of pictures in my books, even Othello, Aristotle, Socrates, these were all black guys.
I mean, Frank, the names. Listen to the names of them. Go ahead. I'm sorry, but
no, you're good. You're good, brother. Othello, Shakespeare, Socrates. These are all black men. That's the reason why they created Hollywood. Back in, it was a German guy that created Hollywood, because you can pretend to be a fictitious, and you can do anything you want to be. I mean, look at the movie Rocky. I mean, look at Apollo Creed, how big and cut up he was, and he was beating Rocky up. Come on, man. And then all of a sudden the music come on, Brother Mike. All of a sudden. And look, that was a movie that was, people didn't catch it. That was a stone cold white supremacist movie right there. To show black people, no matter how big you are, we still gonna come on top. Rocky should have been gone out of that fight the first round. Apollo was, but it's Hollywood. You go see that, it sinks into your mind. He's beating us up. Apollo, he's a big black muscular guy. All of a sudden he's beating him up. All of a sudden in the end, who won? Rocky.
all what he does here. Yeah.
Subliminally. There you go. There you go.
Do you feel that anyone can write? I know that we all have a story, but aren't there some fundamental teachings and theory and how to write a book, how to tell a story? Can anyone do that?
No. You probably would have had 500 million Bibles out here if that was the case. And one thing, you have to have a passion for it. I think that everyone can't do everything. You always want to write a story my method to writing, Brother Mike, is I always want the questions answered that I would ask, that I was always curious about. That's my method to writing. Like, why is the streets named the way they are? Why is the bridges? Why is everything predominantly the United States named after George Washington and Christopher Columbus? These guys were thieves. Why is everything named after them? Why do North American Indians don't have their land anymore? Why does certain people always try to emulate the colored people, black people? We don't get no credit for anything. Black women should sue a lot of people, although I'm not going to name anyone. Right. That should be a court case right there where, hey, you got a lot of black women that need to sue, because that's infringing, on people's.
Hey man, go ahead, preach, bro.
So I've always wanted to be curious about these things, as far as the way that our neighborhoods are set up, the zoning, the schools. Why don't we have certain things in our neighborhood? Is it because of the educational system? Is it because of the jail system? Is it because of the drug trafficking? Is it because of, we're just a bunch of people that just can't get it right? We just can't, no matter what happens, we just can't get it right. what's going on for years and for years and years. Why are we still marching? Cops
still marching.
Shoot our kids down. Why is it still going on? I've always wanted to be that kind of purpose. Hypertension, blood pressure. I got a total medical book that breaks down all the ingredients that you see in the supermarkets that they put up on the sign that the FDA and the CDC put up on the scientific names, the ingredients, purposely, because they know that Black people are not going to take the time to look on the back of a food ingredient and see a 16-word ingredient, whatever.
And then go look it up and break that word down to find out what is it. What is
there
it?
You go. There you go. If they really put what was in the food, they wouldn't make any money. Trust me when I tell you. So they got to put it up under those names because they know that people are not going to look up things like phosphate, things like glucose, things like yellow dye number 5 and number 6. Our people just go in the supermarket. If it's sweet, they'll buy it. Just throw it in the cart.
Yeah. I was looking at something probably about, I think it's been about 2 years ago, and it was about how hot dogs are made. And then there was a microscope on, they pulled this microscope out or whatever and put the hot dog under the thing, and you could see what the living mechanism, whatever was in the hot dog. Frank, I loved hot dogs, bro. Bro, hot dog? I never ate another one. I said, I will never eat another hot dog. Because
good for you.
Yeah, but you're right on point because of the things that have been hidden from us, and what we don't know makes us ignorant. But right. What we do know makes us stronger and gives us power and gives us knowledge. Absolutely. And we need to take the time to find out these things, because this is stuff that's going in our body, and it impacts our brain, it impacts our mood, it impacts our spirit, and everything that we need to survive, and become a good and healthy person.
We don't listen, brother Mike. We don't ask questions anymore.
We don't.
We don't ask questions anymore. The same people that were so hell bent on making our lives a pure catastrophe for over 400 years, we've actually made them comfortable. Through our vulnerability and through our ignorance, we've actually made these people actually comfortable. Same people hell bent through their laws, through their constitutional amendments, through their Bill of Rights, everything that was set up in the Bill of Rights and the amendments, even the emancipation. Mm-hmm. Let me give you a quick example.
Yes.
Let me give you a quick example. The emancipation was signed, I think, in 1863, mm-hmm. 1863, 1865. During the time, and this is something they never teach you in history, during the time when the emancipation was signed, you had a place called Natchez, Mississippi, and I got to bring this out, mm-hmm. where the slave holding was like drinking water down in Mississippi during that time. When the emancipation was signed, you had about maybe 100 to 200,000 slaves that didn't have anywhere to go. They hung around Natchez, Mississippi, didn't have anywhere to go. So what happened was the Confederate soldiers actually re-enslaved over 50,000 Black men and Black children, the Confederate soldiers, during the time of 1865. And what they did, they literally worked these people to death. And that was a Black concentration camp. There were more Black concentration camps in the South after the Civil War, okay, than it all was in Germany. This is facts. This is facts. They don't talk about that. It was Black concentrations all through Mississippi, okay? You had some that was down in New Orleans as well, too. After they worked 25,000 men, women, and kids for one period, threw them over the cliff, Natchez, Mississippi. This is something that they won't tell you. This is something they won't tell you in school. It was called slavery after slavery. Look it up.
Wow, that's deep.
It's called the Devil's Punch Bowl. And to this day, they got a marker, very small marker, where the people actually was thrown over the cliff. 20, I think it was maybe 20,000. Some accounts is 20,000, some accounts is 25,000 men, women, and kids within a 1 year period. They worked them to death and threw them over this cliff. And that place still exists to this day, too. I visited and took pictures.
The Devil's Punch Bowl.
The Devil's Punch Bowl, brother. Absolutely.
I've heard someone speak on that before.
Right.
But it's been so long ago, I don't remember. But I've heard that before.
But the emancipation was signed. The emancipation was signed, and we was free. The Confederate soldiers was rounding up people back then, brother Mike. They was rounding up people back then, putting them back into slavery. And then you had accounts where I read more than probably 100 accounts where the slaves used to write letters, and they was like, my goodness. They said, we'd rather be back on the plantation. The way the Confederate soldiers are treating us, they said it was 3 times worse.
Wow, man, that's crazy. Let's talk about your third book. What was your third book about?
It's called The Greatest Show. It's called The Greatest Show on Earth: The Destruction of a Great Nation. That book goes into self-hate. And what that book entails is that what they taught us over a period of time, the melanin in our skin is bad. Ours is good. But when you do the scientific research on melanin, melanin protects you from skin cancer. Melanin protects you from thousands of diseases. You have to have melanin in your skin to protect the inner layer, okay, for diseases, a host of diseases. These things were taught to us. The minstrel show with the dark faces, everything that's always been that they've always taught that was bad for us is always now good for them. Lips, skin color. Black women were always endowed naturally. You know, their breasts, you know, Sarah Bartman, which they made fun of her, you know, years ago, made her out of a circus attraction. The woman died of venereal diseases. They've always made fun of the way Black women were naturally gifted and they're shaped. But speed it up, you know, 300 years now later, you know, everyone wants to look like Black women. But they taught us to look like ourselves, Brother Mike. It's no good. The skin, our naturally kinky hair, which we can do anything with. We can braid it, we can lock it, we can cornrow it, we can straighten it. We can do anything we want to with our hair. Okay. So why back in the 70s and why back in the 60s, that's where all the help me out here, Brother Mike. That's where the playing the dozens. I know I grew up in the projects in Brooklyn and we called it ranking. Okay. You know, hey, look, Brother Mike, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You like
right.
Yeah, we called it ranking in Brooklyn. And look, let me tell you something. Growing up in the projects, we had plenty of material all day long. We had plenty of material. So we would talk about your mother. We would talk about you're so dark. We would talk about your hair is nappy. We would talk about your skin color. We would talk about your mama. We would talk about your father. But this what was taught to us. You know, we would call people darky. We would call people. But in all actuality, to have dark skin is better for you. That's a royal complexion. You know, and to have the less melanin that you have in your skin, the worse off that you are. You're susceptible to melanoma. Look, the skin cancer alert don't look, the skin cancer alert is on high today. It's on a level 10. That doesn't apply to us, Brother Mike.
Doesn't apply to us at all.
That doesn't apply to us. The melanoma alert, the skin alert, you know, that doesn't apply to us, Brother
We just
Mike.
sweat it out. We just sweat, wipe the sweat, keep on going. Glow. We glow in it. We glow in it.
That's it, man. That's it. You know, we don't really need, you know, due to the fact that the aerosols and the radiation done busted the ozone layer up over a period of time. Now the sun really doesn't have any help. It's just direct. The sun is just direct on your skin now, almost to the point where it seemed like it's hotter than it was when you and I were kids growing up and running around. We can play in the sun all day long. You can't stand in the sun now for 5 minutes now without, oh my goodness, it's hot, you know, and you're almost forced to put on SPF 30 or SPF, you know, some kind of skin protectant to put on. But back in the day, you know, Brother Mike, we didn't put on those skin. We didn't put on anything 30, 40 years ago. We didn't put on anything. We played all day in the sun.
We didn't have it to put on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's basically what the book is all about, you know, loving ourselves, you know, as far as what they taught, you know, what was bad for us, our skin complexion, the way, you know, and what they did to make fun of us. Even when you look back on this, on the 70s show, like Good Times, the way they kind of had like Jimmy Walker with the eyes bugged out, you know, the big, you know, the exaggerated lips. There's nothing wrong with having full lips. Nothing wrong with having full lips at all. People pay big money okay, to have full lips that the black man and the black woman has. Steroids wasn't when steroids was introduced back in the 60s for bodybuilders. Steroids wasn't meant for us. That wasn't a drug of choice for us. Mm-hmm. That was white American men doing that in bodybuilding to catch up to the naturally gifted black man, because we're naturally endowed. That's something for them. They were trying to catch up. Not for us, steroids. We don't need to take steroids.
Wow.
Not at all.
How long does it take you? No, let me put it to you this way. What's the longest it's ever taken you to get a book done?
Man,
I know that could be a big question, because every book has its own life, its own story, even if it's connected to the book before, or if inspired by that. But what is that process for you? You know,
hey, brother Mike, I'm gonna tell you like this, man. It's tedious, you know. And like when I was actually writing my first book, I actually had my second one in my head already. I actually had my second one in my head already. But the time that was between that, it was probably a year, maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years before I actually, had, to come up. Anything that's educational and that is going to benefit us in the unknowing and unmentioned, that's what I write about. I write about things that I would want to know, things that your parents are scared to talk about, things that your dad never sat down and talked to you about. Everything is pretty much just predicated, and everything is written down for us. Everything is written down for us, through, a systematic system called the American education system. We don't ask questions. That goes back from slavery, whatever slave master says. Our forefathers learned that behavior, and they passed it on to our parents, and our parents kind of passed it on to us, where we just don't ask any questions. It's do as I say, and say as I do. You never asked your dad no questions, Mike. I mean,
you too afraid to ask. What are you asking me? Yeah, was that sort of, absolutely.
Right. And that's what was branded, and that's what was branded on us during slavery. You wouldn't dare look slave master in the eye and ask him, why is he doing certain things? You will get punished the same way it was bred into us, okay, as kids. You ask your father something if you want to. Your father, you won't have no teeth in your mouth.
Right. Well, look, man, we're going to take a short break. We're going to come back with more on this incredible topic with you. Everybody, it's Frank Jordan right here on The Mike Lee Show. We'll be right back.
These are all black people, North American Indians. The Hebrews are also black people as well. And this is the education that they're not going to teach you, okay, in your schools. In my books, I cover a span from our ancient history all the way up into American history, which they're not going to teach you in the educational systems of America. These are not your teacher's history books.
Author and historian Frank Zaaqan Jordan book collection is now available on Amazon.
Hello, everybody, and we're back with Frank Jordan right here on The Mike Lee Show, sponsored by Jamie Foster Brown, Sister to Sister 2.0. Frank, we're back, man. I want to talk about book 4 and 5. Let's talk about that period of time. What was in your brain? What were you going through? And I don't want to combine the books because I don't know that they have anything to do with each other. But tell me, why did you write book number 4? What was it about? And 5, and around what time are we talking about? 2000 what? 2000 this? So tell us about 4 and 5.
We're in the year 2022 right now. Book 4 and 5. It was the uncovering of the evil of America, what the CDC and the FDA failed to tell you. That I wrote in the year 2016.
That was number 4.
Yes, sir. That was actually that was number 4.
Okay.
That was number 4. And what I actually, uncovered and unwrapped was, I've had a 33-year head start on a lot of people as far as my diet and how I take care of myself. And I said, what a wonderful thing would be. How great would it be if I went into a supermarket and looked on the back of labels of food and broke down these ingredients that are in food. And Mike, I'm gonna tell you like this. I would say eight. I would probably say maybe 8 out of 10 products that I picked up had some sort of cancer causing ingredient in the food. Things like polysorbate, things have pork in it, under different names, to alter people's, religion, their diet.
Yeah.
It's just, yellow dye number 5, things that are in the medications to keep you going back. Point in case is this.
To get you hooked, get you addicted. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Point in case is this. When the North American Indians, when they were here before Columbus, they weren't taking Tylenol or they weren't taking Motrin. They weren't taking chemotherapy. Inside our bodies, Brother Mike, you got water, you got magnesium, you got iodine.
It heals itself.
You have potassium. There you go. You have potassium. You have the ingredients inside your body that connects with the natural earth and the herbs and the fruit that it yields back. We have calcium inside our body. Natural oranges that are grown. You have echinacea that you can grow. You have garlic that you can grow. All of the things that come from the earth are to replenish the cells that are in our body. Our body doesn't recognize acetaminophen and stuff like that. Now they got a class act suit on acetaminophen. If you're taking acetaminophen, which is in every aspirin, if you're taking acetaminophen in the last 25 years, you may want to call this 1-800 number. So, there's never a case where you can take natural herbs that actually relate to the organs in your body and the elements in your body and the makeup of your body. Lemons, lime, you have burdock root, you have elderberry leaves, stuff like that is to replenish all of the nutrients in your body, not going and getting chemotherapy, which is something that's man-made that kill the cells in your body, and pretty much potentially, sad as it may seem, you have a very limited time left on this earth. They tell you that. People know that before. That's why a lot of times people say, that's why a lot of Black people say, I'm not going to no doctor. I'm not going. I'm not going to no doctor, because you'll come out, finding out about things that are worse, that are worse than when you went in there.
Yeah.
So doctors tell you off the top, Brother Mike, we're just here to treat your ailment. Herbs, what they do, Brother Mike, the natural herbs, they cure you. Penicillin, natural penicillin plant, that actually kills off all bad bacteria in your body and bad ailments in your body and germs in your body. Penicillin plant, simple. They make it into a pill form. The guy Volk made it into a pill form. And penicillin is good as anything to kill off the bacteria in your body. Turmeric, inflammation. Put a little turmeric inside of tea, take down any inflammation. It substitute the place of an aspirin. If they prescribe these things, these natural things to us to do, guess what? Doctors and physicians, they wouldn't make any money. They wouldn't make any money, because now people are being cured. Dr. Zebi, one of the most brilliant herbologists that was here on this earth, dealt with the natural herbs. That's the reason why he's not here anymore.
From Honduras?
That's right.
I worked with a young lady who went out there, and Lisa from TLC died out there.
Right. Absolutely.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Well, I used to work with her. She used to send me pills from Honduras.
Wow.
This was in 97. And those pills, I'm telling you, no quicker than you could get them down in your system, you would just be flooding out.
Right.
You are, just
right.
That shouldn't be in your body.
Right.
Toxins.
Right.
Within I think a week, I felt like flat.
Right.
Man, I lost some weight.
Right.
You really hadn't lost any weight.
Right.
You just got rid of all that crud that was in your gut, and stuff like that. So you're so right. It's just amazing that you mentioned his name, because the brother's not here with us anymore. But he was onto something much sooner, and vast before it could get to the masses. But his words and stuff are still out there on sites and things like that. But isn't it amazing that man is not here with us?
Absolutely, absolutely. And look, let me say this also. Natural herbs that yield from the earth have never been known to give anyone cancer. They
Mm.
have never been known to give anyone any side effects.
Mm-hmm.
Why go to the supermarket and read a pill or read anything or a doctor tell you, that it may cause side effects? Herbs don't do that to you. Herbs cure you. Okay. And so
Everything has a side effect. Yeah.
there you go. Everything has a side effect, right? So the things that you need to put inside your body, to get back the potassium, bananas, perfect source of energy, almonds,
Mm-hmm.
very good, to put oil in your skin, coconuts, very good,
Mm-hmm.
for your bladder, very good for the hydration of your skin as well, too. All of these things are natural and they're put here on this earth to replenish. And guess what? They're here too to prolong our life as well, too. But
Mm-hmm.
when man start tampering and man start putting chemicals and everything, that's when everything pretty much starts to go left. Tuskegee experiment, doing it in Alabama, okay, where they injected hundreds, okay, of black men with syphilis,
Yeah.
okay, and let the syphilis mutate inside their body for over 25 years. Sit back. That was an experiment that the CDC and the United States Health Organization that they signed off on. Yeah, go down there and experiment, and inject these men, with this syphilis, and we're going to sit back and we're going to see the effects, and we're going to come up with some medication, okay, to try to cure it. They experiment all the time. That's nothing new. That's nothing new. Nothing new.
Yeah, I feel they're doing it now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How else are they gonna make money? You got to have some subjects. I'm not no lab rat. I'm not no subject. Yes, you are.
There you are. Yeah.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Wow. Um, what is the most unethical practice in the publishing industry that you know of?
Unethical?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, man, how much time you got? Oh my goodness. Um, wow, man. I would say, you want to know something? I would say when they still publish books, American history books, and they glorify the leaders of the society, and they teach it to look. Prime example is this. You can't get, I don't care how much you try, I don't care how much people want to petition, I don't care how much you want to fit in, I don't care. You cannot get Miss Steinberg to teach black kids black history and slavery.
Amen.
I think that is a crime, brother Mike. Okay. No one
I not agree with you more, Frank. Wow.
No one knows us better than us. That's the reason why a lot of black people don't get cured of mental illness when they go see a psychologist. You can't have a black kid that has ADHD, okay, and you can't sit him before Becky that has a psych. You have to sit him before a black person that can psychologically relate to them. So the only thing a lot of times with a lot of Caucasian and European people, what they're going to do, they're going to just say, okay, well, take them to down to CVS. I prescribe some medication for them. Take these twice a day at night. And here you go right here. Yeah. But we know each other better because we can relate to each other better. If you are in a one-parent home, we can relate to that. Maybe that's causing mental issues as well too. We can relate to that. Miss Steinberg can't. Maybe you have abuse in the home. We can relate to that. Gang violence. We can relate to that. Depression. Okay, that's big money. When your kids are depressed, when they go to school and they don't have the same clothes, expensive clothes, that brings upon a depression. Your kids go see the school psychologist, oh, we're going to prescribe them for these pills right here. That's big money. Also, your kids being depressed, that's big money also. That also curtails and goes into your kids taking pills as well, too, to get over the depression. All they need is counseling. Call our brother Mike. Okay, maybe he can relate, to gang activity that goes on in the black community. You got about maybe 100 guys standing in front of the building or your residence where you live at. Okay, Kyle didn't go through anything like that. Why would you want to sit your kid before a psychologist that hasn't had no life experience, okay, or the Black experience. They just strictly going by the books. They just strictly going by the books. According to page 56 and Proverbs. No, man, this is no.
Right.
Debo is waiting for me in front of the building, man. I don't need a book. Debo is live and in person. This is
real. Yeah.
We can relate to stuff like that. We can relate to stuff like that and give counseling, better counseling to our own. We had that during the time of segregation, and that's probably the next two books that I want
to write. Yeah. Wow, man. We could go on and on and on and on.
It's okay.
Let's talk about the digital world and how things have changed, especially with publication and magazines and books. How has the book industry changed since we have become a digital world? Do you feel that one day, Frank, we won't have books, we'll have some tablet that we were reading off of, and that we won't have physical books? If you look over there to my left, that's all I got over there. It's compact disc. I won't get rid of them. Right. I don't care what they do. My CDs are going to be with me till death do us part. And then I have books from my travels. Whenever I would hit an airport, I go into the little space, as I see a nice book, and I buy a book. That book would bookmark where I've traveled, where I've been, certain things, where my brain was, what I wanted to read. I've always loved books. I've always loved to read. That's the way, that's how we get knowledge. So to get rid of books would just kill me. Do you think we'll ever come to a space and time where we don't have books?
Hey, if I had $1 for every time I heard that, you want to know something? The greatest, I'm not going to say one of the greatest, the greatest book that was ever written is called the Bible.
The Bible.
Okay. And that's actually still being read, till today. That's the good thing. That's the good thing.
Digital Bible. The digital version.
Right. They actually had that, right?
Yeah, they do. Right.
Yeah. James Earl Jones, right? He's right. And you know what? The internet had to get their resources from somewhere. The internet had to get their resource from somewhere. Yahoo, Google, they had to get their resource from somewhere and take the information from a book and actually put it and digitize it, like you said, and put it in a digitalized way from books. I think that going to the library when I was growing up, that was an event.
That was an event, man. The book. Okay, now we were talking about age. You don't remember the bookmobile?
Yeah.
No, you don't. You don't remember the bookmobile. Yeah. There was a car, a truck that drove around in the neighborhood.
Right.
Where you could check. It was a bookmobile. It was a library on wheels. Now, it wasn't massive. It wasn't a ton of them. But I remember that, man, because there was the urgency to want to read, or it being available for you now. And now it seems that we're scarcing everything back because everybody's holding a tablet or a cell phone.
Right.
And we're killing our eyes, we're killing our brain with all of this stuff that's coming out of these cell phones and these towers and all of this stuff. I just find it crazy, man. I think we're in a crazy digital world, but I hope that we don't get rid of books. It's one thing, at least not in my day and time.
Right.
I just like picking up a book and being able to scroll through that book, pictures, autobiographies, things of that nature. So I was just wanting to get your take on that.
Yeah, and big up to the parents, and listen, we have to get credit where credit is due. You still have a lot of Black parents who take the time out to sit and read with their kids. And even look, let me tell you something, Mike, if you had a library card back in the 70s and even the 80s, you was the man. If you had a library card, that was like having a driver's license. Okay, you had a library card, you go around, I got a library card. That was like having a driver's license, because now you are privileged actually to go into a real library and pick out any book that you wanted to pick out. And look, I used to come out of the library that was probably about 2 or 3 miles away from my neighborhood. It was an actually a Caucasian neighborhood, and come from the library, with loads of books. That put a smile on my face. You go when you would go to the library, it was like an event. It would be so crowded. To go to the book desk in certain books, you have to be on a waiting list for certain, just to read certain books.
Sorry, sir, that book is not in. It's going to be out 2 more weeks. And you put your name on the waiting list. You're waiting, countdown to get that book. Yeah,
right. Those days, those were good times back then. There's a library that I love, and it's called the NC State Library in Raleigh, in North Carolina. That library is 24 hours. That library is 24 hours. They have, I think, maybe 9 floors in it. Oh my goodness! And that's probably one of the very few libraries that I know of that when you can go there 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, and it is packed, just like it's 12 noon with students. And I just love that. I love even coming in there, even just seeing that, where they still have millions of physical books where you can actually just read, you can pick out, you can read. And that does something to you also, because now everyone's getting, and it's the parents, for the most part, Mike, let's not play with this. It's the parents. The parents aren't spending too much time anymore with their kids no more. Parents are letting the internet raise their kids. Parents in the kitchen, they're working 2-3 jobs, to pay the bills, and they come home, they're tired. They don't have no time really to deal with the kids anymore. Everything teachers, they teach digital ties, internet. The internet is teaching our kids. You have to be careful with that too. You have to be careful with that.
No, you're right. You're right. Let's talk about your final book. Let's talk about your 6 and 7, if we can go right in there.
Yeah.
Your final 2 books, and what were they about, and why did you write those books?
Yeah, I have wrote my book, We Once Were a Family, The Disappearance of Black Culture and Soul. In that book, I detailed segregation and how much we had during the time of segregation as a community. And a lot of people don't understand, and this is not to step on anybody's toes, we were better off segregated than we were integrated.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of people don't.
The worst thing we ever did was bus schools. And, because then we were no longer independent. We didn't have our own.
There you go.
We started to share everything, and it was, I know. I could not agree with you more.
Right. How do we, look, Christopher Columbus was the first person to come over here and gentrify America. He gentrified America. He came over here and robbed and stole the North American Indians, their gold, and raped the women. John Smith, like they show in Disney. Oh, Pocahontas, she fell in love with John Smith. No, John Smith, Hopewell, Virginia. John Smith, what he did, he kidnapped Pocahontas and he raped her. That's about it. And her brothers was contemplating on killing John Smith, but leave it up to Disney. But the point of the matter is this: we actually had more, brother. We actually had more, brother Mike, when we were segregated. Now we have less because now we're integrated. Now we're under the control of a debit credit system. When we had our own land, we had our own school, we had our own pharmacists, we had our own communities. There was more than one Black community, and that's what the book details. There was more than one Black community other than Tulsa, Oklahoma. You got a place right here in Durham, which was the first Black Wall Street on East Paris Street, where you had Black men, W.E. Du Bois, along with 4 other men who built a life insurance, a 8-story life insurance building. You had a lot of prominent farmers, mechanics and farmers banks that was started, by these guys that's still around today. Mechanics and Farmers Bank was started by Black men here in Durham. And a lot of people don't understand that we were better off separated, than we were integrated. As soon as we became integrated, divorce rates, marriage, was at an all-time high. Heroin opened up, flooded the Black community. Education systems, water, irrigation system. Now all of a sudden they're finding lead, in the irrigation system. The medical system, terrible. Our parents, most of the time, your grandmother, you get sick, your grandmother tell you to put a potato on your leg or something like that, or she'll wrap you up in some tobacco or something like that.
Boil some brown liquor and go to bed. You wake up feeling just fine.
Absolutely. She didn't go to the store and get a bottle of Motrin and tell you they didn't do that. So once this all happened, once we was integrated. So that book actually details where did actually gentrification start, how it began, and why we can't do anything about it today. Remember this date right here, 1830, the Removal Act. Thomas Andrew Jackson. He put in place during the time of 1830, he removed the North American Indians, the Seminole Indians from Florida, worked their way all the way through the West Coast, building railroads, and it actually pushed the indigenous people, the North American Indians, in a place now back then where they didn't even want, North and South Dakota. You can't grow nothing there. The weather's all jacked up. It's a land that they don't even want. What happens in North and South Dakota? We don't know. But is that place is never even talked about. But that's where most of the indigenous people were pushed at, in North and South Dakota, and that's where the reservations are at. But we had a lot of Black communities, Paradise Valley, Black Bottom in Detroit. Yeah, Black communities. Martha's Vineyard was actually founded and started by Black people. You had the Carr sisters that started Virginia Beach that people don't even know about. You had a lot of Black beaches that people don't even know about. And I'm not talking about Black people coming to visit. No, acres and acres and acres of land and beaches were owned by Black people that we were swindled out of it because we integrated, with the system.
Wow. What's next for you, man? The books are in your brain right now. Because you just told us that a moment ago. Oh God, where do you go? Where do you go next?
You know what, brother Mike? I'm gonna tell you the truth, man. The book that I'm supposed to be writing right now,
especially coming out of COVID and monkeypox and politics and all of this stuff, I can't wait.
Right, absolutely.
Where your brain really is going to manifest what it's going to do, because just hearing how you've written in the course from when you first started, which was incredible, to start off it's so strong with you being a first-time writer and your thought and what you were putting into the book, and then to evolve and all of the different stories of information and how this helps us,
absolutely,
our culture, and we need it to where you're going to be, what's next for you. So, wow.
Imagine, look, brother Mike, imagine if we were raised and we went to school and we knew that King Arthur, Sir Lancelot, Shakespeare, we knew that these guys were men of color, inventors, Louis Latimer, John Burr, that invented the lawnmower, Black man. Another guy invented the elevator, escalators. Black women invented the heating system, refrigerated car. McCoy, one of the great, Benjamin Banneker. Imagine if we grew up and we knew that these people were people of color, engineers, mathematicians. How great of a self-esteem would have had growing up. This is one of the reasons why they have to hide it from us. And one more point before I bring out and answer your question. I remember when I was in high school, they used to have trade classes in high school where they would teach you a trade. They called it shop class, where they would have 4 periods of nothing but probably wood shop, electronics, but it was actually a trade that they actually taught you in high school. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, where they had shop class, where they taught you mechanics. They had high schools that specialize in certain things. If you want to be an actor, you want to performing arts, LaGuardia Farillo. If you wanted to be an artist, you went to art and design. If you wanted to be a car mechanic, you went to automotive. So these are schools, high schools. Don't you know, brother Mike, in the late 80s, they substituted those classes and those trades for community colleges?
Wow.
They actually made us pay for what we was getting for free in high school, because you had a lot of people that was going right from high school, Black kids in the Black community, going straight from high school to opening up their own business. So they said, no longer, we can't have this no more. You guys are going to have to pay for this right here. Okay, you guys are going to have to pay for this right here. So if you think about that, the trades are no longer really being institutionalized in learning educational systems throughout America. The trade, they did away with it, and now they insert community colleges now, where if you want to learn a trade, you got to pay for it now. It's no longer free. It's no longer free.
Wow.
Yeah.
How can people, first of all, obviously you sell the books individually. Do you sell them all in a bundle?
Yes. Yes.
I'll go ahead.
Wholesale. Yes, wholesale. People can reach me, through my email. Colleges, universities, they always buy them in bulk. You have individualized bookstores that buy them in bulk as well too. When I go to book signings, when I go to lectures, I come back with nothing.
So, but what if somebody wanted to say, you know what? I saw this interview of this guy. This guy sounds like he is onto something. I want all the books. Is there a special to buy all of them, all 7?
Yes. Yes. Go on Amazon, Frank Zaaqan Jordan, FrankZaaqan Jordan. And yes, it is. Yes, it is. Or you can just reach out to me through my email, ZAAQAN1212 at yahoo.com. And absolutely, it's better to relinquish, and it's better to work with our people that want the information and want this education, rather than overcharge people and not. I mean, look, listen. That's not what I'm in this for. That's not. I've given away thousands of books, and felt good about it, brother Mike. Felt really good about it. If I sold one book, I've done my job. I've actually done my job. But what's actually next for me is that I have a book coming out called Take Another Look. And that one is the doozy. It's about the street signs, about the bridges, it's about where they still have slave houses here in North Carolina and throughout the world, slave museums still intact that you can go and visit and know that slavery wasn't a farce and it wasn't a hoax. Slavery really existed. That's what they're teaching kids today, that slavery didn't exist. The indentured servants came over here. The Irish, came from Denmark. That's just another way of them incorporating, themselves into slavery. When the indentured servants, is a difference. Indentured servants, slavery. Indentured servants, slavery. They came over here for 7 years to work the land. And once they was done, they actually got 40 acres, 75 acres of land, and plus some slaves. We didn't get anything. We didn't even get our 40 acres on the mule. We're still waiting for that. That's what the American dream was all about. It was the indentured servants coming over here, working, building a house, toiling their land. That's what the American dream was all about. It never was a dream for us. It's a nightmare. 1776, when the Declaration of Independence was signed, we were still slaves. So how's it independence for us? The Emancipation wasn't even signed until 1865, 1776. Independence Day, 4th of July, boom, boom, firecrackers.
Right.
And that's what they did, brother. Okay, they celebrated by lighting gun kegs, shooting off cannons, okay, that they actually wrote a document to keep us in bondage and keep us in slavery. And they celebrated, okay, by the control of the 13 colonies. 13 colonies, they had full control of the 13 colonies, and they celebrated. That's what they did. And to this day, we blow up firecrackers and shoot guns in the air, and we don't know anything about it. 1776, we were still slaves. The Emancipation wasn't signed, okay, until 100 years later. So how was the Independence Day for us, brother Mike? We were still slaves.
Boy, you preach, you man. Today, you let us have it. What a great show today, man. This is very informative. Last question for you. What are you most proud of?
Wow, that's a good question. That's a good question. All praise to the Most High, number one, for giving me the brain in my head, to even be the person that I have become. And the most thing that I'm really proud of is that anytime someone rings my phone, anytime someone emails me, anytime someone calls me up to do, what you asked me to do, brother Mike, it's always a pleasure. This is one of my greatest moments right here. Anytime I can get to do something like this, brother Mike, this is a great moment for me right here. I'm gonna go celebrate. I'm gonna go get me a glass of wine as soon as this is over with. I'm gonna go celebrate. Life is a celebration, Mike, and we have to celebrate it. We have to be thankful, for us even getting up. There's no need to frown. Get up. You're mad. You're disgusted. You're frowning up. You're mad for no reason. You woke up. A lot of people can't say that.
A lot of people can't say that. Yeah, man. I just want to thank you so much, Frank, for sharing with us today and for the books you've written and for
Thank you.
opening up and telling us about these incredible stories and books that can help our culture. I can't wait for your next book to come out because I want to have you back on, man, to talk
Hey, thank
about
you.
the new book, and let's do a master class on
Absolutely.
some of this stuff, man, and let's help people, because that's really what it's all about: being a good servant, and helping people and being a good person. So, man, I love your stories, and
Thank you.
what a great show today. Thank you for stopping by the Mike Lee Show.
Hey, thank you, Brother Mike, for having me. All praise to the Most High. Thank you, Brother Mike. I appreciate it.
Absolutely,
Thank
it's
you.
my
Keep
pleasure.
up the great work. Keep
Oh,
up the
thank
great
you.
work.
Thank you very much. Everybody, thanks for joining us today right here on the Mike Lee Show, sponsored by the one and only Jamie Foster Brown and sister to sister, Frank Zaaqan,
Zaaqan, Zaaqan, Zaaqan.
Frank Zaaqan Jordan.
Yes,
Remember
sir.
the name, remember the name. Go buy the books, folks. Go look him up. I think you'll get a whole lot out of these books. I'm looking forward to getting them myself. So everybody have a great day. Come back to see us right here on the Mike Lee Show. We'll see you all next time.
Thank you.